Walaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.
How you doing, brother Essam?
Alhamdulillah, everything is good.
How was your day today?
My day was blessed. Blessed day.
Alhamdulillah. And your week so far?
My week has been good. It's busy. Alhamdulillah, about to get ready to go back home on Monday, inshallah. It's been like a little bit more than 3 weeks since I've been in the UK, so it's been a beautiful, beautiful experience.
So you like it here in the UK, London in particular?
Yeah, bro. I feel like this community is unique, you know, compared to other places I've been to in the world. The UK, you know, different cities in the UK have very beautiful communities, you know. So alhamdulillah. Yeah.
So, you know, to inshallah ta'ala break the ice, we're here in London, and some of the brothers, they said that we need to test Essam out, and if he's here in the UK in London, he needs to understand our language. So I have a few slang words, and I'm going to ask Essam to tell us what they mean. And maybe he can hit me back, inshallah, with some American slang, and I'll see if I know what they mean or not, inshallah. You ready, Essam?
Let's do it.
Yeah? Okay. You have to excuse me because some of them is new to me as well.
I tell you, you're taking notes.
And I can't find my notes.
You got a notebook with UK slang.
Right, yes, I got them. Where's the boys? Alright, this first one, Essam. This is a bit of a sticky one.
Sticky one still fine. You know, it's like you jammed up. Like it's a tough situation.
Okay, you got that one, mashallah. Alright. Essam, it's getting peak.
It's peak, like it's hot, it's over, we gotta get out of here.
This guy who's recording me, he's jarring, man.
He's a clown?
Close.
Close? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I've heard the word, but I don't know what it means. Jarring.
What does jarring
like
mean?
surprising? Annoying?
Annoying.
What did I say? I
said clown. You said clown.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. Clowns are annoying.
Yeah. That's our slang. Like, he's a clown.
Give us one more, guys. Let's test him out.
No.
Bag. What's a wrap for bag? A bag.
No, monkey.
No,
What's a monkey?
What's a monkey?
Yeah, what's a monkey?
Monkey?
Yeah, monkey.
You don't know what a monkey is?
You know what a monkey is, but in currency-wise, how much is a monkey?
A monkey?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Guess.
I'm not gonna guess.
Do you know? Sheikh Omar, do you know?
Yeah, how much
Monkey.
is a monkey?
Yeah.
It's a form of an ape.
No. Currency.
Alright, man, you give us some American slang.
Man, bro. Yeah. I think it's gonna have to come up through conversation, man, because I can't think of anything at the top.
Give us one at least.
I've been in the UK for 3 weeks, man. I don't even remember. It's been too long since I've been home. What kind of American slang do y'all know?
Dude.
Bet. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes we use the same words. What else? You wildin'. Yeah.
They call the best wife beater.
Huh?
You get me tight.
Oh, you get me tight. Yeah, tight.
Soccer.
Huh? Soccer? That's a good one. Man, it's been a minute, bro. Oh, it's been a minute. Y'all say that too?
Yeah.
It's been time. That's some time. Yeah. I don't know.
So, You're born in the US, right?
No, I was born in Morocco.
Morocco.
Yeah.
That's your original country.
Yeah, my mom is from Morocco and my biological father is from Egypt.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
Yeah.
And so, I wanted to start this conversation to speak about your mother, like, may Allah preserve her.
I mean,
MashaAllah, since we sat down last week and we had lunch together, we were talking, and I shared your picture on Instagram,
yeah.
and I told people, we have a gathering, inshallah, we're going to meet Essam, and mashallah, I think it's your mother, may Allah bless her. She has a page just for you, and she puts like good moments, good snippets of you with your with children, you visiting schools, you doing some workshops. In this journey that you're in right now, performing and inspiring people, how important is your mother in terms of her role inspiring yourself?
I feel like, to be honest, if it wasn't for my mother, then I don't think I would make any effort to do good in this life. I've seen her go through so much from a very young age, and what I've witnessed her go through, it really forced me to mature at a very young age. So yeah, man, it's literally, I don't even know what to say, man. I feel like it's a heavy question, just thinking about it. I haven't seen it for so long too. But I feel like, and I've had conversations with my mother as well, and she told me herself, she was like this creative path that you're on, and this journey that you're on, if it wasn't for that, then I probably would just be caught up in my environment, and just become a product of the community that I was raised in, which was really heavily influenced by poverty, really, May Allah make everything easy on my people and all of our people.
So currently you live with your mother in the US.
Yeah, I stay with my mother, yeah.
How much time do you spend with your mother?
I spend, I'm with her all the time, every morning, every night. Throughout the day I do my thing, but I'm a caretaker for my mother. She has some physical obstacles that she deals with, so I care for my mother full time when I'm at home.
And how involved is your mother in your career, in your journey right now? Is she watching us right now?
Yeah, she tapped in. Shout out to my moms, man. Shout out to my moms.
I want to say Assalamu alaikum, Essam's mother.
Assalamu alaikum.
No, she's tapped in, man. Like, everywhere I go, she's, every people I meet, she knows of them. I'm her only child, so, she just tapped in. It's like my purpose for doing good is inspired by my mother, and my mother told me many times, like if you see my mother's condition, and if you see what type of situation she's in, you would understand. But if you were to speak to her, you would never know that she's going through anything, So, I feel like there's times. Let's just say that there was times where the doctor said she was not gonna make it through, and there was times where I held my mother's hand and told her to say shahada, thinking that was gonna be her last breath. And moments like that, you really start to reflect on life, and you really start to appreciate, every moment that you're given. But yeah, alhamdulillah.
So, Essam, you're 26 years old, right?
I'm 28. I just turned 28. Yeah.
MashaAllah. And how old were you when you went to the US?
I was 1 year old, so I don't even remember that part of my story, to be honest.
So tell us a bit about your upbringing in the US. What was the environment like? What was your upbringing at home like?
So I was born in Morocco, and then my biological father, he had left before I was born. So I think reaching the age of like 1, my mother went on a journey to look for my father and went to Italy, where they met for the first time, you know, Italy in Europe. And upon meeting me and my mother, upon that interaction, he was not really having it, so he kind of brought us in the middle of nowhere. It was like this forest in the middle of nowhere. And he just left us there for many months, and to the point where my mother was, me and my mother was surviving off of fruits off of a tree, and running out of diapers. I was getting diarrhea, getting sick. She would walk miles every day to get water, you know, and it was to the point where my first language was interacting with the animals. I used to imitate the pigs, and then the animals around me, I used to pick up the rats and all sorts of stuff. And my mother, she used to kind of just like, you know, check me, you know. But the way my mother really described that period of time was silence, you know. So my mother, she ran into, it was a community center of nuns, and I told them the situation, and they helped her come to the States. Upon being in the States, we was homeless in a single mother shelter, and until she met my stepfather, and then moved to a neighborhood called, I'm not even gonna say the neighborhood name, but moved to a neighborhood which was low income, you know, Section 8 housing projects. So I literally, like, I'm the only North African in my entire neighborhood. My neighborhood growing up was like majority African American and Southeast Asians, but over time a lot of East Africans started to migrate. So I grew up with the generations of East Africans in my community. So a lot of my close brothers are like Oromo, Somali, Cham, Southeast Asia, and yeah. So yeah, that was just kind of like that was the demographic of people I grew up around. And also, so my neighborhood in particular is probably the most hated and the most, like, biggest project in my city. So there's a lot of, you know, you can imagine what type of problems come with being from that particular neighborhood. There's only so much I want to, just because it's being live streamed, I only want to say so much, you know, when it comes to, you know, where I'm from. But yeah.
So what type of problems and issues were surrounded in this area?
Gang culture, drugs, violence. Y'all from London. Like, everything we have in my community, I'm pretty sure exists over here as well. Just different, you know what I mean? Different situation. You know, different place, different demographics, but same problems, same system.
Knife crimes, or you guys don't have that?
Nah, it's mostly gun crime. Like, you got kids, 14-year-old kids shooting people and all sorts of stuff, man. So it just, everybody has access to guns. It's like common. It's a common. Everybody got guns, you know. So it's just literally like licensed or unlicensed is just part of the culture, you know.
Did you know anyone who died from gun crime, or you lost anyone from the community?
Yeah. Yeah.
One or two?
I feel like, man, I can't even count, bro. Like, we lost too many people, man. Some of my best friends, my closest people to me. Yeah.
Close friends as well?
Yeah, it's my best friend, closest friends growing up, you know. So my, alhamdulillah, you know, but everything is maktub. Everything happens for a reason. But
what attracts young people? What are the reasons some young people might join gangs and be involved in those types of crimes?
That's literally all. That's all we knew growing up. That's all, you know. It's one of those things, man. It's just like, you know, if you're raised in the community, like, for just kind of break down the history. Maybe it might be similar over here, but like we know the history of the United States and how it came about with slavery and all that, right? So the communities that we live in have existed for so many generations. The violence and the culture of the community that exists within Black and brown communities in the United States has existed for so many generations. So the generation of immigrants, because we're still first generation, we come and children of refugees and immigrants, we come to the country and we assimilate, and we're put into these projects, we're put into these housing projects in Section 8 in communities that have already, the culture already existed for so many generations. We assimilate, we adapt, and that's all we know. And it stems from the start of the United States, right? So, I forgot what the hadith was, but it's like, if you're around the person who sells incense, you're gonna smell like the person who sells incense. And then was it the welder, the blacksmith, you're gonna smell like the person who was a blacksmith, right? So it's the same thing. If you're raised in communities with gang culture and drug problems, you're gonna adapt to that. It's not common it's more common to be a part of that than to not be a part of it,
So we're a product of the environment.
Exactly.
Yeah? And so alhamdulillah, you the writing and the poetry and the spoken word, as an artist, you're a proud Muslim artist, and we can see, mashallah, you're practicing the deen, and you sing or you write about Allah Azza wa Jalla subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what made you different? What saved you from your environment?
I mean, I wouldn't say I was saved, because I'm still on this journey, and I feel like we all know about the American dream. I'm sure y'all heard about the American dream. Raise your hands if you heard about the American dream. So the whole concept, the whole culture of the United States, and it's similar over here as well, but it's coming from poverty to richness. I come from nothing and I'm gonna succeed. And you hear a lot of artists in popular culture talk about that. The problem with that, it's really just telling you where you come from and where you're at right now. But how many people on this journey lost their lives? How many people on this journey got locked up trying to achieve that American dream, right? And our elders and everybody who immigrated and the individuals who've been in the States for so many generations, they break their backs, trying to achieve this American dream, which, in my opinion, is a myth. The same concept when it comes to Islam, right? I feel like in the Muslim community, we often talk about how we come from misguidance to guidance, and what was that trigger? Like, what made us turn to Allah Azza wa Jalla? But truth is, there's so many people who are still struggling. You see what I'm saying? Like, as Muslims, we're taught to conceal our sins. Like, if my sins had an odor, you would not want to come near me. Nobody would want to listen to me speak right now. Right? But truth is, I'm still struggling, but the only difference is I have a sense of direction. I know where I want to be. You see what I'm saying? I want to die in the state that Allah is pleased with me. I've been to so many funerals in my life. Right? So I've seen death countless times. I can't even count. From brothers overdosing to brothers passing away due to violence, to natural deaths and car accidents and whatever, to the point where you go to the gravesite and it's more young people than older people. You have more people out around my age and younger than elders. It literally got to that point. To answer the question, I would say, like, really witnessing, because when I was 13, 14, I witnessed, like, my mother, she went into a coma. The doctor gave her medicine she was allergic to, and she went into a coma, and the doctor said she was not going to make it through the situation. And I remember at that time, and this is before I knew how to pray, this is before I knew how to read the Quran, this is before any of that, because I wasn't raised being taught the religion, you know what I'm saying? So, to a certain extent, obviously I learned the basics, right? But I was like 14 or so, but I remember I used to just raise my hands up and I used to just talk to God, like yo, Lord, I don't even know if I said Allah, like I was just praying that my mother will pull through that situation. And I remember going to visit her in the hospital, and I would witness, you know, a tube going down her throat, keeping her alive. And it got to a point where I'll be in the middle of class, and I would have these chest pains. I was struggling to breathe, and I would run to the nurse's office, and I'd be like, yo, I can't breathe, you know, like it's hard for me to breathe. I feel this tightness in my chest. And the nurse would just tell me, just place your feet on the ground, inhale, exhale. Later on in my life is when I realized that these were anxiety attacks. I was going through it at such a young age. I was scared to know that my mother not make it through the situation that she was in. Alhamdulillah, she pulled through. And you know, like to this day, she's not able to walk, and she still uses the machine to breathe and whatever. But, you know, alhamdulillah, I'm able to communicate with her. That's the most important thing. But to answer your question, a lot of my life journey reflects back to my mother. You know, if it wasn't for my mother's situation, then I wouldn't feel like I would have any responsibilities, you know, and I felt like everything, even in terms of the journey of this creative journey, like before I was a quote-unquote Muslim artist, you know, I was making music in a different light, and the reason why is because at that time I was raised in a community heavily influenced by hip hop. So that's all. I wrote my first rap when I was 8 years old. So I was always into the culture, you know, graffiti. You know, I was a graffiti artist and just making music and whatever the case may be, but not for the purpose of just, oh, I love it, it's just dope. It's because that was the only way I knew how to express myself. I still remember my first piece I wrote. I was not the first piece I wrote, but my first piece I was 8 years old. But the first time I really started picking up, I think I was 15, and I wrote you know, it was 16 bars, and I put my friend to the side, and I recited for him the piece. And I remember, and this is one of my close friends, you know, and I remember he was like, yo, he didn't say nothing in that moment. I recited it for him, and we just kept it pushing, and we just kept it going. But later on, like a few years later, I was like, you remember that time, you know, when I put each to the side and then I spit for you that piece, and he told me, he was like, man, I didn't even know you was going through I didn't even know that part of your story. And the whole reason why I share that is because the only way I knew how to talk about my problems was through writing, through creative expression, through rapping. You see what I'm saying? So it was a way for me to and I remember at that moment, it felt like the weight of the world was lifted off my chest. And that's how the whole journey started, you know, just the whole creative journey. I was just writing to express myself, man. And because, you know, especially as young men, in every society, in every community, as young men, we're not taught to talk about our emotions, because you don't want your friends to call you a square or you're soft, or, you know what I'm saying, you know, somewhere along those lines. Right? So we don't talk about emotions. We're taught to just thug it out, or, you know, everything is good. Like, I'm not, you know, I'm straight. And you see kids, I see young kids in my neighborhood, like young brothers I've seen grow up. They'll witness their own brother pass away in their arms, in front of their eyes. And you know, like, you would never know they're going through anything. It's because they're burying these emotions deep down within their hearts. You know, but what that does is, over time, you need an outlet of expression. So if you're not talking about your problem with somebody that you trust, and you're not treating these emotions, what's happening is you're going to turn to the substances to numb the pain. You're going to turn to alcohol. You're going to turn to substance abuse, the perks and the, you know, opioids and kush, whatever you do in order to numb the pain. And what that's doing is just suppressing those emotions. So in that moment you feel good. Everything is straight. I'm chilling. But what happens when you sober up is, like, all you did was really just bury those emotions so deep to the point where over time you don't heal. You just dig yourself into a deeper hole, and then you get into a very dark mental state, you know, and which is why, and a lot of the times is, you know, these young brothers are going through so much in their life that they're drowning themselves in these substances because they don't want to live. It's literally a form of suicide. They don't want to live. I myself, I was a product of my environment, and there was a point in time where I got caught up, and I'm not going to say anything I've done, but at the same time, I understand that perspective. Like, you go through so much in your life, you lose your closest people to you, you're constantly looking over your shoulder, you know what I mean? Every car that drives by, you're trying to see who's inside that car. You can't be present. So, for me, creative expression saved my life. And I never did this. Me being here, sharing my story on camera and you know, with these brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing, but I'm going to be honest, I feel like I don't deserve it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the times I feel like it's like this is not my space, right? All I could do is talk about my journey and how creative expression helped me out, and inshallah I could benefit somebody else, you know? But for me, it's like that the whole journey of creative expression is no joke. If it wasn't for creative expression, then I would lose myself. But obviously, I feel like, so creative expression is a part of it, but I think, you know, faith is what kept me grounded. If it wasn't for Islam, then certain values and principles I wouldn't be aware of. You know, the concept of after hardship will come ease, or, you know, Allah won't burden the soul more than it could bear. Like, these concepts, and I've spoke to my brothers. I was speaking to one of my brothers a couple of days ago, and he told me the same thing. He was like, you know, this is one of my brothers who struggles. You know, and you, if you were to see him, you wouldn't think that he's a you wouldn't even think he's a practicing Muslim, or that image of what a Muslim is. But, you know, he told me throughout his darkest times in his life, understanding these concepts that was taught to him through Islam is what saves him and what keeps him going every day. You see what I'm saying? So, and for me, I feel it's the same thing. It's like a lot of these concepts I was taught, you know, from the religion is what kept me alive and what kept me going, you know.
SubhanAllah. I mean, what you shared is, SubhanAllah, very, very interesting. And ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless you and reward you for the journey that you went through. Speaking about mental health, this is a very big topic today here in the UK. And recently the NHS, the National Health Service, they're paying a bit more attention to mental health, where previously it was about physical health. You spoke about hip-hop. Close to hip-hop is rap. And if I'm not mistaken, rap stands for rhythm and poetry, right?
That's what some say, but officially it doesn't. Right. Is it? But that's what a lot of people say.
Historically, the people.
But that's what it is, though. Initially, it's rhythm and poetry. Yeah. And
you will find original artists. They will talk about some of the social struggles, maybe the racial tensions that existed at their time.
Yeah.
And perhaps today evolved to become just about talking about issues for the sake of it, even if they didn't live it. But perhaps previously, original artists, they did come from communities where these issues were real. Right?
Yeah.
So, you mentioned Islam, faith supports us and it keeps us strong, it helps our mental health. And Islam does recognize that we are human with emotions. The Prophet ﷺ, he cried when his son passed away.
Yeah.
And he said, am I not a bashar, am I not a human being? Human being, we're not robots. So we get sad, we get tired, we can get emotional. All of these feelings we get it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, طَاهَ مَا أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْقُرْآنَ لِتَشْقَى. That when the Prophet ﷺ was going through hardship, when the Muslims were few, and when some of his family members or some of the companions passed away and some of them were being exiled and the Muslims were going through difficult struggles, Allah was comforting him with these verses from the Quran to keep the Prophet ﷺ firm. But also what you mentioned about speaking to others, right? The Prophet ﷺ also had good companions around him. He had the likes of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. So all of us need in our lives people that we trust, that we can speak to. And you said that creative expression saved you. Can you just elaborate a bit on that? How did creative
If
expression?
it wasn't for creative expression, then I would not know how to deal with the trauma I've experienced in my life. And like I mentioned, like a lot of the time, like, well, and that's a problem, especially as a Muslim community. Like when we judge the youth who are caught up in this lifestyle, we don't understand the journey that they've been on. You know, a lot of the youth come from war-torn territories and backgrounds. Like I'm not even talking about back home. I'm talking about where they reside. It's a war zone. Me and this young brother right here could walk into the same corner store, but he lives in a whole different world than me. I'm walking in and everything is good. I'm just getting my bread and I'm walking out. He's walking in there and he is paranoid. He's looking over his shoulder thinking, okay, like, is the op going to pull up or whatever, you know, the opposition, the enemy. And we could be in the same corner store and live in two different parallel worlds, two different, completely different universes. And we don't know why he thinks like that. Is because he probably been into so many situations that triggered his mind to think like that, you know? And it's not healthy. You see what I'm saying? So if it wasn't for creative expression, I probably would just be, you know, just a part of the culture that exists around me, you know, and I would deal with my emotions and my trauma in different ways, like being more violent or aggressive or turning to drugs or whatever the case may be, because that's the only thing I know that's around me, you know. And really going back to like the hip hop culture, it started off as you know, a form of expression, you know, resisting against the oppression that was happening in black and brown communities, right? And it actually still is like that. It never changed. What changed is the mainstream industry. The mainstream is you know, they obviously see a culture they want to capitalize on. And truth is, like it still is a form of expression, you know, and even like the grime culture and drill, like all of these forms of expressions, you know, they exist for a reason, and they come from poverty. They come from you know, these type of backgrounds. And one thing to really reflect on is that Islam never came to abolish culture. Islam never came to, okay, hip hop is haram or this culture is haram or whatever the case may be. It came to teach us how to take the good and leave the bad. You see what I'm saying? So there's elements within hip-hop culture that is permissible within a religion, and there's also elements that's not. And the same as Pakistani culture, Moroccan culture, Somali culture. You see what I'm saying? So I just want to kind of like draw that line in the sense that it's like anything that we hear talking about in grime and hip-hop and whatever the case may be, that's just a reflection of the countries that we live in. It's just the problem is we're always highlighting the culture that comes from a particular community, you know, which in this case is black and brown communities, right? So people want to, you know, draw negative connotations to these communities, but really it's just a reflection of the American culture, the London culture. It's you know, drugs, alcohol, and all of these things exist within the culture without hip hop and without grime and without all of these things. If that makes sense.
Yeah. There must be something different. So with the creative expression, it's not just that you went towards creative expression. You could have been a mainstream hip hop artist, right? Yeah. What made you become a Muslim artist?
It's to be honest, I think the conversation should steer from like, I think the Muslim artist, the term Muslim artist has a huge responsibility, right? Rather an artist was Muslim. But obviously, my identity, I'm a Muslim before anything else. But in terms of the creative field, right?
That journey, though.
Yeah. So, in terms of the path that I took, is understanding certain boundaries and certain lines not to cross because I'm a Muslim. You see what I'm saying?
Such as?
Like, for example, if I partake in any act that was not permissible in my religion, God forbid, for all of us, I wouldn't promote that in the content that I create. You see what I'm saying?
So your songs, if I can call them songs, they have musical instruments in it?
The way I approach it is all of my production is created from the voice. It's a cappella, so like beatboxing and vocals. Yeah, so that's how I really approach my art.
So for you to do that, it's because you're trying to practice Islam, right?
And that, so initially it started off as like, yo, I still need to express myself. I still need to I'm a rapper at the end of the day. So I want to do this in a way where I know everything I'm doing is right, you know what I'm saying? So that's when I really consulted. I sat down with the Mashaykh, and before I really got into this, and this was in 2016, and you know, I asked him about he's a brother who studied fiqh, so he broke down to me the perspectives and whatnot. So that's the reason why I approached it as you know, beatboxing and vocals is the only way I'm gonna create my soundtracks. But at the same time, it doesn't mean I'm an alternative to the mainstream industry. You see what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of Muslims think that, like, oh, thank you for providing an alternative to the rubbish that's out there. So the way I look at it is, at the end of the day, I'm a hip hop artist that creates my sounds from the voice and beatboxing, and I am going to be in competition with the mainstream industry, and I'm gonna compete with them. You see what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be the best at what I do as a writer, you know, as a songwriter and as a recording artist and as a performing artist. I'm gonna be the best at what I do, because as Muslims we gotta be at the front line, right? We can't just be like, yo, I'm gonna provide an alternative and that's it. It's like, nah, like we're in competition with some of the most legendary artists in the game, right? So if I want to catch the ear of the youth, then I got to speak the language of the youth, which is the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You see what I'm saying? And in terms of how I approach my art, it has to be top tier, and not basic and not secondary, not an alternative, right? Because when we look at the history of the Muslims of Al-Andalus and Qurtuba, when the Muslims were at the front line in introducing the West and introducing civilization to so many things, from clothing and medicine and you name it. At this time, the mashaykhs and artists were working side by side with each other. You see what I'm saying? Like when we look at the architectural designs and the geometric patterns that we see, a lot of this comes from art and creativity inspired by faith. Right? So that's how I approach it. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna let it be known I'm a Muslim. You know, I'm a proud Muslim, regardless of how you feel about that. And I'm a dope artist too. You know, and I'm gonna have to come like that, right? Because if I don't, then it's just like, you know what I mean? Like, why am I really doing this for? You see what I'm saying?
The only difference will be that we follow Islamic guidelines.
Exactly.
Because we're Muslims, we have certain values.
Yeah.
And you believe that it would be great for Muslims to be involved in all of these mainstream industries.
For sure.
If it's the fashion, the
Everything.
film, quote-unquote music industry, but the only difference is we come within our own values, within our own guidelines, and it will still be good, if not better.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And the Andalus is one of the best examples, because they were the greatest architects of the world in history, and it was inspired by faith. So it shows when values and Islamic guidelines come together with creativity, we can achieve so much more.
And really just going back to that, and I think it's like, for example, like there's a radio station in my city called KXP. They run my work through the radio station all the time. And I think what really, and it's one of the biggest radio stations in my city, and also globally. And what stands out to them is the fact, is because of the way I approach my production. The fact that everything is from the voice, right? So I look at it as, we're gonna pave the way. This is a new genre, you know. This is the way I'm gonna approach it, you know. And I've been doing this for the last 5-6 years, and I'm gonna keep it that way, you know. And mind you, this radio station is not a Muslim radio station. You see what I'm saying? So you know, and alhamdulillah, like a lot of my gigs, majority of my gigs actually come from non-Muslim organizations. I don't get booked because unfortunately with the Muslim community, you know, when they see me doing my thing, it's kind of looked down upon, you know, because of the essence of where the culture come from and anti-blackness. You know, people associate the hip-hop culture with black culture, you know what I'm saying? So that's really what it comes from. So a lot of my work is still with the non-Muslim community. At the same time, if I'm talking about like an inspiration where, okay, maybe I was inspired by this verse in the Quran, I'm gonna talk about it, yo, like chapter 13, verse 11, Allah won't change the condition of the people unless they first change what's within their hearts. I'm gonna talk about that in front of non-Muslims, you see what I'm saying? So I don't have to tailor it in a way where, obviously I'll tailor and I'll use terminology which they understand, but it's like I'm still coming as myself. I'm a Muslim artist, and this is what I do, and this is my process, this is how I create my work.
Okay, because we're going to ask you, inshallah, to share some of that talent with the audience, inshallah. But just before that, just in regards to, you mentioned that you weren't taught Islam from a young age. You know, you didn't know too many things about Islam. A few experiences and tests happened in life made you return back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the city or in the area that you're from, did you have masajid? Did you have shuyukh? What was it that made you take a further commitment towards learning Islam and practicing Islam?
So in my community, as of right now, we don't have any Islamic schools or any big masjids or anything like that. It's really just old houses turned into mosques. Because we're still new there. Even when it comes to halal food, we don't have a lot of options. Like, mashallah, you know, the UK, y'all are good. But where I'm from, it's like, yeah, my family's Muslim. My parents told me I was a Muslim from a young age and taught me whatever they can. But I'm not being raised at home. You see what I'm saying? I'm not being raised I'm literally, especially at the time when my mom got sick, like my stepdad would be working all the time, so I'm just outside every single day, all day, right? So I'm being raised in the public schools, I'm being raised in my community and in my environment, right? So I remember when my mom first came out the hospital, she seen how my character changed, how everything, you know, I was just different, you know, this is the way I was, you know. And what happened was, there was an Islamic school that opened for a short period of time. It ended up closing. But this Islamic school is where all the kids, where the parents were struggling with their kids, they'll put them in this Islamic school. So
that's why they get brainwashed, basically.
What do you mean? So what happened was, this kid, my first day in the school, I remember, you know, we had to wear a thobe and a kufi and everything. Walked in, we had a strip search. You know, like we had to take off all our clothes. It was like a boarding school. It was funny. But anyways, I remember the first day as well. One of the teachers walked out, and then one of the kids turned off the lights. He was like, "Let's get ready to Royal Rumble." Everybody just started fighting each other and throwing each other on the floor. It was just crazy. This is my first day in Islamic school, you know, and I was probably 15. And I remember when I walked into the school, I was actually the structure was all over the place, but it was like from the age of 5 to 17, you know. So I remember when I first walked in, it was me and another brother. We were the oldest kids in the class. Like, it was a Quran class. There was like 5, 6 year olds. I'm like the oldest kid in there, you know. But alhamdulillah, I learned fast, you know. And then I was able to learn to read in the Quran. And then it got to a point where I remember one of the sheikhs. He gave a lecture about the hellfire, and I got scared. I was like, yo, I'm not trying to go there, you know. So that's when I really started to you know, I was just scared. It really just, you know, it was out of fear, you know. That was the first time that I really started to practice, and I made a conscious decision of you know, making sure that everything was good. But after I left that school, I kind of slipped up again, you know. I went back to public school, you know, for my last year of high school. I met old friends, and I got caught up again. So I kind of use this example a lot of being caught in the crossroads. Like, I'm taught good, but the environment I'm raised in is teaching me everything that goes against what I was taught. So it was a constant struggle, you know what I'm saying, in that regards, right? So that was like the beginning of it.
Keep you firm on the straight path.
I mean,
so we wanna hear some of this creative expression.
Yeah.
And I want to leave it to you. You pick the best piece or the piece that you want to speak about today, inshallah.
Yeah.
Leave it to you.
So you know, I've heard people talking. You know, I've heard, mashallah. You know, I heard you have a history with creative expression as well.
Yeah.
Who said that?
So, you know, so. And that's why I really enjoy talking to you, because you actually understand, you know? So maybe we could collaborate.
That's actually a secret that was not told before.
I told secrets I never told before here too, man.
SubhanAllah, I mean, yeah, bro, I can relate to your story as well. I can relate to your story. In terms of family, may Allah bless them. And preserve them. They had good akhlaq and so on, but they weren't religious. So I didn't know too much about Islam until it was my teens. In my teens, I started practicing. But yeah, I used to like creative expression a lot.
Yeah. And shouts out to my parents, mashallah. Like, you know, there became a period as I got into my teenage years where, mashallah, like they really went, you know, like firm, you know, with the faith, you know. So alhamdulillah, you know, but
we wanna hear from you though.
Yeah, I got you. Look, so can I get some support from the audience? I could get some support from the audience. So look, I'm a point at somebody, and then when I point at somebody, you're gonna give me a sound. I'm allowed to do that, right? Just making sure. so, hey, look, man. So we're gonna create a little choir real quick, man. As a matter of fact, we got vocalists in the room already. So let's start it off. The vocalists on it. Okay. These brothers right here in the front.
Should we get Hadas to the front?
I'm gonna make this a crowd participation thing. So how about, okay? I'm gonna give you a melody. I'm gonna give you a melody, yeah? And just repeat it. You're gonna be the Amir. You're gonna be the one who leads the way.
This guy.
No, that one.
Hey, no, bro, where you going, brother? He said, I'm out of here. But you guys said it's over. He's running. So look, hey, give me this melody, yeah? Ooh, go, so be on beat. Ooh, and don't laugh. If you're gonna laugh, you're gonna have to participate. Like, you can't laugh. Like, that's the problem. People wanna laugh, but you gotta do it yourself. So how about you three brothers in the front? Go. Ooh, let's say it with me. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, all the way. Yo. Ooh. Give me a melody, man. Ooh. Hey, keep it up. Don't stop though. Give me any sound. Any sound. Give it. Yeah. All right, in the back. Any sound. Hey, Zane Harris, man, give me a little melody.
That's Zane Harris.
No more sounds? A little snap? A little snap? Hey, now for 1 minute, I've been looking for some inspiration. I got my pen, I got my pad to write with dedication. You see this poetry, my medication. I ain't a doctor, but I work on patience. So, let's catch a beat real quick. Man, these brothers, man, shout out to these brothers, man. Looking for some inspiration. I got my pen, I got my pad to write with dedication. meditation. You see this poetry, my medication. I ain't a doctor, but I work on patience. I've been reflecting on my life, who I be around. I think it's time for me to go, so you won't hear a sound. If you wanna make it come up, gotta settle down. Protect your soul when you fight to your last round. And they gon' ask how. And I'ma tell them I deserve this, cause I've been working. I put my trust in Allah, cause that's the first thing. I've been looking for some guidance, forever searching. You see I'm traveling to find out what is my purpose. And best believe I'm about to climb out this hole I'm in. Coming from the trenches, we've been struggling to find some ends. But I'ma make it me, riding with that summer on his waist. He can feel the heat, never taught a different type of life. He only know the streets. His heart was warm and I was colder than the winter time. Stressing, really trying to be that star, but you can't force it shine. You say you wanna make it fall, but are you really trying? He goes, hold on. Grinding, I move in silence, but I'ma tell her how I see it, there is no surprises. Money don't mean you hit the top, cause there is something higher. I'm so inspired, working with these youngins, there is so much I acquire. I don't rock no Gucci, cause my kufi, it be flyer. I've been about my business, I ain't looking to get higher. Never working for the man, I wear my own attire. Now I'm in demand, I'm always praying to inspire. Inspiration.
Can we do the famous one that we all know?
Which one?
Where is the love?
Yo, I need. I'm gonna give y'all one more. I'm gonna give you something else. Where's the love? You can watch that one on YouTube. But look, I got another one, and it's inspired by my mother. Right? I remember a few years ago during Ramadan, right before Fajr. Matter of fact, let me backtrack. As a teenager, I used to go to my mother and I used to complain to her. I used to be like, yo, hey mom, how come we poor for it? How come we don't got money like, you know what I'm saying, the kids on TV or like the other kids? And you know what my mom used to tell me? She used to be like, son, Essam, we are not poor. Watch your mouth. We are not poor. We are rich. Why? Because richness is in faith. Richness is in the heart. Richness is in Iman. So a few years ago, richness is in what?
In the Iman.
Iman, mashallah. The brothers are listening. But a few years ago, I remember this melody came to my it was during Ramadan. I was in California, like right before Fajr. Right? And then this melody went like this. I'm going to get crowd participation again, man. So, hey. So this one is simple. This is a lot easier than the other melody, right? It goes like this. 2, 3. 2, 3. I need everybody to participate. Keep this melody too, even when I'm going, keep it up. 2, 3. Hey. Now I gotta grind hard till we all straight. When we say you rich, son, if you got faith, you can't know ease if you don't know heartache. And love is so sweet if you only knew the taste. Yeah. Now I gotta grind hard till we all straight. When we say you rich, son, if you got faith, you can't know ease if you don't know heartache. And love is so sweet if you only knew the taste. Swim against the current, trying to see the shore. I was questioning my circle, I just wasn't sure. Had me giving to temptations till I wanted more. Soul infected with the sickness, searching for a cure. My fault. Time was passing in the quickness, trying to chase it though. Living little too fast, now I'm moving slow. I appreciate the present, treated like a gift. I put my head on the mat so my faith will lift. Up like the birds soaring in the wind. I feel no worries in that moment, not a single thing. My eyes is heavy, but my chest is weightless. Yeah, I slipped up as a youth, I'm not afraid to say it. The oldies show me what patience is, I try to relay it. I'm learning from the children the essence of inspiration. What you said really don't matter with that demonstration. Still trying to reach the masses one, like Muhammad's nation. Peace be upon him, every poem is a dedication. So then I travel because worship, I don't take vacations. The haters talking, I don't listen, I can't let them faze me, cause only God can judge intentions. The scriptures mention every letter, every word, and every single sentence has a story like Allah's up here, we implement them. Now I gotta grind hard till we all straight. When we say you rich, son, if you got faith, you can't know ease if you don't know heartache. And love is so sweet if you only knew the text. Yeah. Now I gotta grind hard till we all straight. When we say you rich, son, if you got faith, you can't know ease if you don't know heartache. And feel the taste. Yeah. He's lit. Hey.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Okay, so there's one that just came out. And subhanAllah, it got stuck in my head.
Which one?
It's called Fajr. That'll be hard to do without any sound tracks.
I never performed it. I tried to perform it before, but it didn't work out.
So what's it about? Why did you call it Fajr?
Man, I was in Turkey. I was in Istanbul with a couple brothers, and I literally after Fajr, we was in that hotel next to it. We had walked to the masjid, paid at the masjid for Fajr, and then went to the hotel. And literally, this melody just came into my mind, like it just came out of nowhere, And when I wrote it initially, it was like Fajr. Everything I do is for the ajr. Pray I win this battle like butter. What's the point of getting better if you wish better like butter? Hey, but it's on YouTube, man. So hey, keep that same energy on YouTube, man. Go to the YouTube video, show some love. Hey, look though. So initially, that's what it was. It was just a melody that came into my mind. I went to the studio in Istanbul, and when I wrote my verse for the piece, it was really just talking about, my life, And when I really reflected on the purpose of the piece, it was like, yo, Fajr, like when you wake up for Fajr and you pray Fajr on time, your day always goes smoothly. You see what I'm saying? So it's like top of the morning, first prayer of the day, early morning you catch a sunrise, and everything just goes smooth, So that was like the whole purpose of that piece, you know what I mean? So and the brother Yusuf, I remember he mentioned it was the imagine the 2 rakats before Fajr is better than the dunya and everything it contains. If the 2 rakats before Fajr is better than the whole dunya and everything it contains, then imagine the Fajr prayer itself. So I don't know if I'm gonna remember the piece, but I think I could attempt to just spit it a cappella. So it goes like this. Trying to figure out which way to go. Growing up, nobody paved the road. Before we grew, we thought we was grown. Gotta eat so we could feed more souls. Trying to figure out which way to go. Growing up, nobody paved the road. Before we grew, we thought we was grown. Gotta eat so we could feed more souls. Yo, Fajr, everything I do is for the ajr. Pray I win this battle like butter. What's the point of getting better if you ain't better like butter? Fajr, everything I do is for the ajr. Pray I win this battle like butter. What's the point of getting better if you wish better like butter? And it goes, my purpose is driven by faith, and I'll never be hitting the brakes. Got my foot on the metal while I'm gassing. I put my life on the line, that's my passion. Pouring my pain in this pen when I'm rapping. Stacking these bangers they thought was lacking. Put it in work till it feel like a habit. It's deep in that rhyming and fashion. Never be panicking, under no pressure. We come from the dirt, but we diamonds though. No, we throwing no shaker. We still gonna be shining, so why would you even want to try me for? Son of a dude, the indigenous African. Traveling and seeing these places I never been. Ever since I seen them other crop rivers, I promise I'ma be better than who I was yesterday. Cause tomorrow's not promise I'm gifted with the present, but sometimes I'll be distant. Lost of my brothers to violence, so I can't be silent. Why you think I've been on this mission? Need no attention. If it's a means to disturb my intention, I don't need a pistol. My faith is my weapon. Cause I got a lot, there's no better protection. Yeah. Fudging, everything I do is for the edging. Pray I win this battle like butter. What's the point of getting better if you're spread like butter? Fudging, everything I do is for the edging. Pray I win this battle like butter. What's the point of getting better if you're spread like butter?
Hey, we're making out the hood.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar.
Takbir.
Allahu Akbar. We're making out the hood.
Come on.
Brother Essam's album, inshallah, we're going to support the brother, inshallah. There's only 10 copies.
No, there's like 4 or 5 copies. These are the rest of my album. I got like 4 or 5 copies, £10 each. And I'm not gonna reprint these albums ever again. So if you want to get the last of this album, then first come, first serve. We got one. So we're gonna do it like charity. It's gonna be like, we got one, man. Lord bless you in this life and the next. We got another buyer. Raise your hand. We got one more buyer. Oh yeah. We got two right there. One more. Come on, we out here, man. We got three. Only two more left, so just save it for the sisters, inshallah, you know? Huh? Oh, you want come on. Come on.
So we have Isha in 10 minutes.
Yep.
But we want to get one more.
One more piece.
One more piece, and then we want final words and advice for the youth.
Alright. So
but everyone has to get involved this time.
yeah, man.
No, it's better. Hey Musa, go to
Get a YYT.
No.
How about you before
Which one? And who's the brother that was rapping in that one track?
he's not here.
He's not here? MashaAllah. How did it go?
You guys gonna do the YYT anthem?
That was a proper anthem.
Dun dun dun.
Hey. Dun 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 dun. Hey. Dun 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 dun. Hey. Dun 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 dun. Hey. Dun 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 dun. Dun dun dun.
This is how we roll. It's the YY2. 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 Dun 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 dun.
Okay, we're gonna carry on the melody, guys, and Essam's gonna rap over the melody. Yeah, the YYT melody. So carry on with me, guys.
Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. La 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 la.
Make a difference when these words are all in the book. Yeah, never divide. Never divide. Taking my time, speaking my rhymes, killing the cameras, physically, but I don't know what it like until they're blasting. Feeling me passing the casting, just getting out the math. We do this like a song, but it's way too calm. I'm trying to hold me down. Chain up in the dirty sound, representing my section until you know what I'm about. Like, hey, yo. We just trying. We just trying. We just trying.
Everyone.
Now I gotta grind, tell y'all straight. When we say you rich, son, if you got faith, you can't know ease if you don't know heartache. Love is so sweet if you only knew to tell that. Hey, man. Hey, man. That was a beautiful vacuum, man. That was beautiful. Hey, but look though. Since you wanted the words of love piece, I'm gonna spit that too. It's acapella for y'all real quick. It goes. Too comfortable with the way that we living. We forget about the orphanage children. Poverty a weapon doing all the killing. Desensitized is a way that we feeling. Being silent is a form of abuse. When my people went up dead on the news. Television telling lies and disguising the truth. Make a difference with these words is my oath in the booth. Yeah, never divide. Gotta unite against this hate. Leaving my body bags ahead of shakes of heaven's gates. Trying to survive, victim of oppressor, choose a side. Aiming for the physical, but never gonna kill the faith. Our legacy gon' live forever. If one of us is cold, we gon' lend this sweater. Feet to feet, stand strong, 10 toes on the carpet. No, we ain't blood, break bread if you starving. Where was the love for the villages of Mali? Selected with your morning, so we see through your sorry. Assimilated to the system, standing for what's right, left. Ilhan ridiculed just cause she's a hijabi. Haven't forgot about the families in Palestine. Rohingyas getting burned alive in Burma. Muslims put in concentration camps in China. These situations they probably never heard of. Islam, the fastest growing religion. White supremacists playing the part and spreading the message. If we are how we portray, then everybody be sometimes, like you might be struggling with your faith, right? Let's just say you miss Fajr, you miss Duha. And you might just be like, you know what, I'm not going to pray for the rest of the day. And this is just an example. Never let that be the reason that you don't do any good, because sometimes the shaitan will be so tricky that he'll make you feel like you're not doing good enough to the point where you don't do good at all. You know what I'm saying? So I think, you know what I mean, that's a reminder to myself first and foremost, because you know that the heart, it fluctuates, iman, it goes up and down, but you know, always remember the fact that like we're still alive and we're still breathing is the biggest of blessings. And is it still alive right now? I mean, if we could cut off the live, I could share something, you know what I'm saying, just to